Okay. I
On
was
a
like, are you about to tell me that it's a
river.
commercial?
Nope. In 10 minutes though.
Okay. Said, not right now,
Not right
but it's
now.
coming.
It is coming.
And so today we are talking about pain management is not healing.
This was good.
Yes. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can play this clip. Time heals all wounds. That's cap. Time does not heal all wounds in any sense. In the physical, some things require time and physical therapy. Some wounds require time and medicine. And just like it is in the physical, it is in the spiritual, in the emotional. Time does not heal all wounds. The problem is we confuse pain management with healing. And because we learn to live with it, we don't notice it as much. You are not healed, you're numb. But listen to me, just because you don't feel it doesn't mean you're unaffected. And you might have learned to live with the pain, but that new business you're trying to start can't coexist with it. That relationship that you care about cannot coexist with that pain that you're holding on to. This is the season for going to God, having to put the searchlight on us and remove all the things that are in us that He did not put there. Because contrary to popular belief, time does not heal all wounds. God does. Look. So yes,
That's good. That is so good.
pain management is not healing.
That is.
Time does not heal all wounds.
And I really wonder where that came from. Like
The
where
saying of
that
time
saying,
heals all
yeah,
wounds.
where did that saying even come from?
That's a good question.
Because it's definitely not true. Like I have scars from childhood that I can visibly still
That's
see.
funny.
Like the wound is still there. So clearly time did not heal the wound or it will be gone. Like I don't even want to see this. Like just some, us 90s kids being outside, we got real scars and scrapes and stuff.
The phrase "time heals all wounds" may be first attributed to the Greek poet Menander, who lived around 300 BC and
Hmm.
said, "Time is the healer of all necessary evils."
Mm.
Hmm.
Okay. Hmm.
Is it a poem?
That's interesting.
As time him hurt, a time doth him cure.
Mm.
So yeah, I'm assuming that it was likened to physical
Yeah.
wounds and
Yeah.
how in most cases it's a matter of time, right? But
Mhm.
um the inclusive all is
Yeah.
false narrative, right? Because even
Absolutely.
with physical wounds, um some people, if you broke something, if you don't do the healing,
Yep.
right, then you got a forever broken foot or leg
Indeed.
or whatever,
Yep.
right?
Or if you don't go to physical
E-
therapy or whatever the case
exactly.
may be,
If you
you'll
don't do
still
whatever
have
the
that.
process is, whatever the healing process
Mhm.
is, then you're not healed. So I don't
Not at
know.
all. Yeah. That's interesting. And I love how you said the false narrative of the word all being
Yeah, be
inclusive.
inclusive. Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's when you talk about like mental wounds or trauma, I guess is what we really want to call it. When you talk about traumas, um, that time is it like he said, it's really used to numb. And it's interesting because today, like you mentioned earlier, today is World Health Day or World
Mental health.
Mental Health Day. Yes.
Yes.
And Charlemagne the God had a mental wealth expo over the weekend, or was it today? It might have been over the weekend, but um, Sarah Jakes Roberts and her husband Pastor Torre was also there speaking, and she was actually speaking to this a little bit too, of how therapy kind of helped her, but she was so numb to the things that had happened to her in her past that she was just kind of living in this numb state. Like wonderful things would happen in her life. Like she was like, my book was on the New York Times bestselling list, and I was just like, oh, okay, that's cool. Like she couldn't even allow herself to feel that because
Yeah.
I do think we move in survival. Like we move in, okay, I just gotta make it and I just gotta keep going and be numb to things. But it's just like, no, like I need to stop and release all of this.
Yeah.
So I think that's a little bit of this too, like just the pain of it that I'm just gonna bury it or numb it down, put a little neosporin on it and just keep moving and keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah, I definitely think time is needed to heal wounds, right? But I
Yeah.
think that the original quote of "time heals all wounds" is a false narrative.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. It's crazy because when you talk to people, right, you'll hear people say like, "Oh, I'll never forget such and such said this," or like, there's certain pivotal moments in your life that people never forget that they're still affected or impacted by. Um, but I think that the healing, the reason why it's such a uh, the reason why the statement being false is so impactful in a negative sense is because it kind of makes you think that I don't have to do the work. I just need
Mm,
time,
that's good. That's a
right?
great point.
It's like,
Hmm.
well, in time you'll be okay.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
time you'll get over it.
Everything
In
will
in
be okay.
time,
Yep.
like I don't need to do anything. It's
Hmm.
really just a matter of time.
Yep. Time will do all the work
Time's
for
gonna do
me.
all the work for me.
Yeah.
I
That's a
ain't gotta do.
wonderful point.
I ain't gotta worry about nothing.
Yeah. Listen. Ain't got-
Listen.
It's a wonderful point, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's
yeah.
good.
So I think that's the real issue. Have you ever thought? Has that ever been your philosophy of like of time will heal the wound?
So I don't think from well, I've heard that saying so much, and that's what made me think. Like, I wonder where that came from because I have heard that, and I may have said it too. Like, in time, you'll be fine. But it's like, no, I'm not.
Why when black people reflect or like we impersonate ourselves in the third person, we do it in the alternate voice that's not actually our voice when we know our voice because it's our voice makes no sense to me.
I'm crying.
Like you reached down and got your Maya Angelou
Listen,
voice to tell me what you
because
said.
I feel like anytime I hear that phrase, like it's very like poetic in that
Yes,
way. Like,
yeah.
don't worry, time heals
Oh,
all wounds,
yes.
and
Like you
you
don't worry, baby. You
listen.
just need time.
Just time, in time you will be all right.
Just or
But
give it time.
yeah, give it
Give it
time.
time.
Yeah.
You'll be okay. Just give it
But
time.
no, and it actually makes so my mom talks to me a lot about it. Her mom passed away when she was a young woman, like 18 or whatever. And she was like, yeah, people always say like in time, like people tell people that or other people that when their parents die, like, oh, in time, like you'll be fine, you'll live through this. But she was like, no, you won't.
Yeah.
Like it's forever going to change you.
Yeah.
It's forever going to hurt. And she was like, it won't fix it, but you'll be able to figure out how to cope with this new idea of your life. But she was like, time doesn't help you in any way.
Or you may not.
Yeah, or you
You
may
might
not.
just become numb.
You might become numb.
Right.
Yep. But she was like, yeah, time doesn't do anything. 'Cause she was like, I mean, it's been over 40 years and I miss my mom like it was yesterday. Like time
Yeah.
means nothing in that
Yeah.
instant. Um so yeah, it makes me think that I don't think I feel like I'm any better within time, but I feel like me I'm the person that's going to bury and be numb to it. And then when it creeps back up like it always does because nothing stays buried for too long, then I'm like, okay, here we go again. Like, how can I either suppress this or now I need to really face whatever may
Or
be.
how can I get more dirt to bury this
Exactly, to
again?
bury it again a little deeper this time
Right.
because you keep on
Where's the
creeping up.
back of the dump truck? Listen.
Like,
No, but whatever is buried grows.
absolutely.
Right.
It does. So not for long you think you're burying it and it's definitely going to show itself because the earth moves too. Like things that you bury, it eventually it will move because of saturation with the water or whatever, global warming, whatever is happening in the world. Like sometimes things that are buried become unearthed as well because things move and things
Things
change.
shift.
Yeah,
Yeah.
things shift. So yeah, so the idea and just throwing this out there, like time is just a made up thing in anyhow. Like time is really like relative to you. So just that whole concept that time heals all wounds is just like what is time anyway? So
I think it also gives the illusion that you'll be in your original state after the fact, like after a period of
mm,
time. Like you get to revert back
back
to or resuscitate back to who you originally were. And I don't think that that's the job of pain, right?
No.
Like whatever trauma or pain you went through, it probably should change you,
That part.
right? Hopefully for the better. Sometimes it changes people for the worse.
That's the part. No,
Right.
that's really good. Ooh, you got the gems today. That is good because you're supposed to feel it. Like that's the point
That's
of
the
it.
point of it, right?
Yeah.
Even though, don't get me wrong, you don't like it.
Right. It doesn't feel
I don't like
good.
it.
Right.
I'd prefer that it actually not happen.
But we gotta feel it.
But people don't change. Most people don't change until they are forced to change.
Yeah,
Right?
you gotta
Because
feel
it's
it.
easy to keep being who you are.
That's good. That is good. All right, let's pause
See,
right
I felt
here.
it coming. I knew it. I could see
Listen,
it.
the time be timing. All right. Thank you for listening to Brunch and Bestie Show. We will be right back after these quick messages.
Bye.
Barbershop experience? Then the Locker Room Barbershop is the place for you. Check them out at their new location, located at 16900 Lakewood Boulevard, Unit 204 in Bellflower, California. If you would like to book an appointment, you can check them out at thelockerroom05.com or on Instagram at The Locker Room Barbershop LLC. Feel free to call the number 562-202-9602. Again, that phone number is 562-202-9602. Can't wait to see you at the Locker Room Barbershop.
What's up, friends? It's Iron Friends. We're here at the Podcast Pit LA. It was so fun. We came to rep the IE. I think we did a pretty good job. So shout out to the Podcast Pit for having us. Shout out to TGN. You guys should definitely check them out. You should check me out, Saul V. Gomez.
Y'all can find me at I Know Caesar on IG. You can find me at
honestly think? Like, what's the first thought that comes to my mind when I think about him?
Yeah.
And so I think that that's part of it, is that understanding the why and the what. Because if I can change the narrative in my mind, then that's where the healing, it at least sometimes, can come from.
That's a fact. Cause I definitely agree. Cause I think for me, mine is a little bit in reverse. So prior to meeting my dad and having conversations with him, like I didn't know him, so it was like I made it up as a kid. Like I'm gonna make up who I want him
And
to
since we
be.
making stuff up,
Listen, we were making stuff up.
let's be creative and do it big.
I was very creative. Like he was a great guy, like just well to do. Like he was just out here and living a great life. But then when I met him and I got to talk to him and then to see what his life was like it was kind of like devastating. Like this
Yeah.
you, like
Right.
you're really a hot mess, and
Yeah.
I'm so shamed that you're my dad. Like look at you, like you can't care for yourself, like you're people have to take care of you and do all the things for you, and I'm just like, this is not the idea that I had in my head. Like how did you get here? Like look at what your life has become. So I think doing it in reverse, and now I'm in that mode of like I have terrible things to say about him
Right.
because
Yeah.
this is
Well,
him.
it's based off what you. Well, I mean, like, to put it in perspective, I too. So my mom didn't tell me; I had to discover.
Yeah.
So I too had an amazing imagination and made up
Listen.
great things about my dad. But then when I learned the truth, when I was sitting there reading his
Whew.
files, when I was at work trying to do my job, trying to better
Listen,
myself,
trying to be in my practice. I'm a kid.
I'm 16, like I'm a child. But I
Crazy.
took same thing, devastation,
Ooh.
very ashamed.
Yes. Like what?
Right? I'm like, of all people, like I was like, I'll take anybody's dad. You know?
Anybody's. I'm like, what?
Excuse me. Are there any dads?
Listen.
Dad. Anybody who responds.
You know what?
Like,
I'm
I
gonna
would
take the
them.
made up version because
Listen.
this ain't it.
And you know what? And it's difficult to accept.
It is.
Because when you've gone so long and you have a different narrative, and then for the reality to be literally the opposite.
Complete opposite.
That's complete devastation.
It is. And I'm just like, no.
And then, like you said, it has more questions than answers.
It does.
Because before, it's like when you make up stuff, it's like, oh, like there's a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you learn the truth, it's like, hold on now. None of this makes any sense.
None of it. It's so crazy. Like I'm just like, how did you even get with my mom? Like how did y'all even meet? Like I'm still so confused. Like no, you're actually trash. So just trying to come to terms with who he is, and then still trying to work on healing that for myself, because I do think, again, time doesn't heal all, because for me, I'm going to bury it, but I'm starting to see like I can't continue to do that because it's going to unearth itself at some point. And for me, it always shows up in my romantic relationships. Like it always comes about. And then I'm left feeling some type of way. We're actually about to go into our next break. So time is flying today. Yeah, this episode, I didn't know we were gonna get here, but here we are.
Here we are. Good thing we don't edit no more.
Listen, goodness, but here we are. So
like,
Jesus. But thank you for tuning in to Brunch with Besties show. We will be right back after these short messages.
Bye.
So,
like,
Jesus.
Birthdays are meant for celebration, and when it comes to celebrating, Flour and Sugar never misses a beat. Offering custom cake designs to fit any special occasion, your cake will be the talk around town. From sushi cakes to perfume bottles, everything is always edible, with flavors like Oreo, banana pudding, and our top flavor, strawberry shortcake. I can't miss. Order your special cake today by email at flourandsugarla@gmail.com or visit our website at flourandsugar.store. Or if you want to see new design, follow us on Instagram at _flour_and_sugar_.
Hey, my name is Jasmine Sweets, and I'm so excited to be bringing you The Sweet Spot on TGN Vibes, Good Vibes, and R&B. Playing the old school
to purpose-driven conversations.
Yep.
Child, what's our topic today?
Oh, pain management is not
It's
healing.
not healing. Time does not heal
No.
all wounds. Upon further review.
Upon further review, not at all.
We tried it out, and in case y'all was wondering, it's a
Listen,
strong no.
Listen, just take it from us. It's a no.
That's
It doesn't
not how
work
it
that way.
works.
Not at all. Cause child, the pain gonna be there, child.
Do you feel like you've made any progress in the healing process? Not that, it's crazy because we always talk about how healing isn't linear.
Yeah.
So sometimes you could take 5 steps forward and take
Ooh.
7 steps back. But it might be necessary.
Yeah. I definitely took about 10 steps back, and I was just like, WTF? Like, how am I even right here right now? But I do think that now that not that I wasn't aware before, but I think now I felt the burn where I'm just like, okay, now let's really put into work those boundaries that you have for yourself. Because you don't want to be here again. Like now you gotta stop being here. And just
because now you hurt yourself.
Yeah. Now I definitely hurt myself, and I could totally see that this was all on me. Like again, no fault to him. Like he came in being who he was, and I wanted it to be something else. And not realizing that I'm still hurt from issues that I have with my dad, or just other traumas and other relationship issues compounded into one. And I was just like, I can't do this anymore to myself because I know better. So I think now I really need, like I said, to stand on my boundaries and make sure that I'm sticking to what I say that I'm going to do as far as, when it comes to my relationships, and me, giving away my heart to people who don't deserve it. They don't deserve that access to me. My heart and my body. So I'll say both of those things.
Yeah, it's so hard because it's easy to set the boundary.
Yeah.
But baby, implementation is a muzzle.
Is the other thing. Listen here. It is extremely hard.
That's why it's so much better to catch it in the beginning.
Yeah.
The more time that you invest, then you feel obligated to somehow spend more time, even though that's not rational either, because it makes actually more sense than once you discover to say, I don't have time to waste, right?
Exactly.
But of course, that's not how our minds work.
Yeah. Because I could have easily let this keep going on and on. Like, okay, well, I'm just settled for this. But it was just like, no. This is taking me to a place where I was like, coming out of character under some situation. I was like, this is not even how I behave. Like, now you doing too much.
When people make you change who you are, that's a telltale sign.
Yeah. I was way over the threshold of, girl, what you doing? Because now you doing too much.
Right.
So let's reel this all the way back here.
So my thoughts, so when I discovered who my dad was at 16, when I was in the law office and I was just working and I was trying to run background checks and I was only trying to learn the system, and I accidentally discovered who he was, it made me question who I was, right? Because I come from you.
Yeah.
Right. So if you are, like you said, if you're pitiful, I'm ashamed, all these feelings, then it makes you question, even if it's subconscious, even if you don't say it, it makes you question, well, who am I?
Absolutely, it does.
Right? Because how did my own father end up doing these things that this paperwork says that he did?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, I have those thoughts all the time. And especially with my dad, like, I don't know if he said it like he has like a learning disability. I don't know. I don't know if he ever said that, but he has like early dementia. So he's like not always there.
Right.
And I'm like, that's scary to me because it's just like sometimes, I forget stuff or I just kind of be like, but I'm like, oh snap. Like, am I acting like my dad? Like, I really like kind of freak myself out. Like, I never want to be in that situation, or just, financially. I talk about my financial issues on the show all the time, where I really feel like I never want to be in that spot where people have to take care of me. And I really like, it's hard for me to say like, okay, I need help or I need this. Like, I'm not going to ask you, like, I'm going to figure it out. I'll let my account go to the negative. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm going to make it work before I open my mouth to say something. But I'm just like, I cannot end up like him. Like, it's like my fear. Like, And I'm quite sure like he's made some terrible choices in his life as far as like drug use and being in the street. Like he literally lived in the streets at one point, like being homeless. And I just don't want to be to that point. But I'm just like, but that's my dad. Like that's who I come from. Like that's
Right.
scary.
And it's difficult to accept.
Yeah.
Right. Because
Yeah.
now it's like, okay, how much am I like him?
Exactly.
Right. And that's why I had to ask my
Exactly.
dad, listen, you're an addict. How did you get there?
Listen.
Because I need to know what not to do. Because I'm like, since you already did that,
right. Teach
me
me
how
what
not
not
to.
to do. Okay. Yeah.
Help your girl.
Because that's scary. It's scary.
Yeah. And now with my sister,
Yeah.
having her addiction to drugs, it's like,
Yeah.
it's hard. Like I get so angry. Like
Yeah.
just thinking about it sometimes. But it's like, you know, it is, I think, partially about the story that you tell yourself.
Yeah.
Because for me, like the words that I will never forget when I was sitting there reading about my dad is that it said habitual criminal. Because the crazy thing is that my whole life my mom would only say positive things about my
Yeah.
dad. Like she would be like, oh, you do this just like your dad, or like I would always like my eggs kind of like brown, like cook them, you know. Not no more. I've evolved thanks to my foodie bestie.
Okay, my palate has changed.
My palate has changed.
Because I'm like, get these rubbery eggs out of here.
No, but before, like literally, I would be like, no.
Yes,
like,
fried
well
hard.
done.
Yes.
Yeah. Like when I would go to restaurants, I'd be like brown.
Yeah.
Because then they would only lightly do it. And I'd be like, that's all I really want. But my mom would be like, oh, you would like. She would laugh and be like, oh, you do that just like your dad.
That
Or
is
you,
so
or like I would eat breakfast for dinner. She's like, oh, you do that just like your dad, right? And so I didn't have, and I knew he was in the army, right?
Yeah.
He was really fit. All the photos were like great, stellar,
Yeah,
amazing pictures. And then she would always like, now one thing your daddy was, he was fine.
Okay,
right?
listen, let's not forget.
Don't forget that.
He was a looker. I love it.
You know, so I did have a certain image, and then when you read habitual criminal, you'd be like, "Wait, hold on, whose father is this?"
Listen,
I'm sorry, there must be another gentleman by the same name,
because that can't
Someone
be my
stole
dad.
my father's identity. It can't be him.
That is
right?
not him. I mean, this is a common name. This is
It's
not
pretty
my
common,
dad.
right? But then you know when the birthdays and everything line up, you're like, okay,
it's him,
right? And then it's like, okay, and mom, you were kind of lying to me like my whole life. Like, no, like, and then everybody in my family knew except for me.
Yes.
You know?
Like, so
It's
y'all
like,
always in
everyone
on
was in
it.
on this. It's crazy. But I think it's about the story, right?
Yeah.
Because I had this image of who he was, like, oh, he was in the army, he was jumping out of planes, blah, blah, blah. So then when I read, I was like, what? But then it made me also realize that I don't really know him.
That's the part. Yeah.
Right? Because what I heard and what I read are two totally different things.
Yeah.
Right? So which one are you?
Yeah.
And then it was like, what type of man would leave his family for drugs?
Right.
Right? Because of course I didn't understand
the addiction of it. Yeah.
and all that. So then I had to learn,
Yep.
right? And empathize with him. And when he told me, like, no, I thought I was above it. It was a thing back then, and I told people they were stupid.
Yeah.
For having that type of addiction. Tried it one time, and anything my dad does, he does it big, child.
Listen,
so
yeah, he was all in.
He was all in.
Yeah.
At all costs. Right? And did some horrible things, and you know, but he's also done a lot of great things.
Yeah.
Right? So it's one of those things where it's like, whatever I read on that paper, that was true.
Yeah.
Right? Those are facts.
Yep.
It's in black and white. It's plain. It's clear. Guilty.
Yep.
Right? But he has evolved.
Yeah.
And one thing I had to tell myself too is the same way that I evolve, other people get the chance to evolve and change and grow.
For
right?
sure. Yeah.
Now, I wish that he didn't have to do all that.
Yeah.
Right?
To get there. Right.
but he also has the right to live his own life, and he's so much more than my father. Because everything from my perspective was like, what kind of father?
Yeah.
What kind of father? What kind of? And it's like, well, you know what? A good father would not do those things,
Yeah.
right? But a man would.
A man, yep.
A black man in the 80s would.
Listen, in
Right?
Milwaukee, a black man in the 80s in Milwaukee would absolutely do that,
right?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's just like, are you going to give him room to be a human being? Are you going to give him room to be a man? And at first I was like, hell no.
Right.
You're my dad.
No.
Okay.
No. Dad.
But then the more mature version of me was like,
I have to.
absolutely, I have to.
Yeah.
Right? Because I want to grow and evolve and change and whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I hope that when I have kids that I've done most of it. But either way it goes, I'm gonna screw up my child some type of way,
Girl.
right? Probably not in the way that he has,
right?
But that's why, like, I'd be so like, nope, I don't care if it's just weed or it's just. I'd be like, it's a strong no for me,
yeah,
right? Because I can't risk it.
Yeah,
like that fear that you have about like, oh, I don't want to be homeless.
Yeah.
I don't want to be, because you don't understand how he got there.
Yeah.
And I couldn't understand.
Yeah.
Like my brain, and that's the other thing too. For me, a lot of times I heal when things make sense, when it's logical, when I have an understanding. Like, oh, I see how.
Yeah.
He could have got there.
Makes sense, but
makes sense.
Yeah. But if you don't have that understanding, that's it's scary.
Yeah, it is. It is beyond scary.
Yeah.
Because I'm you.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why we are here.
How did we get here? Yeah. It's so scary. Yeah. It's just interesting. And especially like with my dad, like who grew up in a house like with both parents, like
when they had everything,
right.
Like you have no reason, like you chose this.
You chose this. Like you have other siblings that are well-to-do. Like looking at my dad's brother, I'm like, well, I kind of wish he was my dad, like the brother, not you.
My dad got 10 siblings.
Like,
I said, now God, I could have took either one, like any of them. Shuffle the deck, honey. Because ain't none of them on drugs.
Man.
Okay.
And I got dealt this card.
Like, really?
Like, come on. A mess. Yeah, a mess. So I'm still growing in that and trying to give him the grace of being a man and not just my dad. And still trying to figure out some
maybe
too.
maybe you're not there yet. Maybe you still need to be mad. Maybe you still need to be in the hurt phase.
And
I don't know.
That's where I'm at still. I'm still in like the. And well, no, I'm still in the like, I don't want to deal with this. I'm a bury it. Like I don't have time for this. This is where I'm still at.
It's hard to accept.
Yeah.
Especially when you know that it didn't have to be this way.
Yeah, it didn't.
Like when they had everything going for them and they made the choice, it's like, what? But then you look at your own life sometimes, you be like, okay, I done made some choices.
And that's the part where I be like, look at the pot to calling the kettle
black, honey.
Because child, I be like, girl, you in a cycle right now that you've been here, and here you are again. Like, come on. Like, you give yourself some grace, so you need to offer that same grace to your dad. So I'm gonna get there, but it's just that's all of this has just been a lesson of time ain't enough.
Time is not enough.
Time is not enough. It is, I mean, it just keeps going and going, but if you don't do the work or have the tools or do the work that you need to do to heal, like it's just time is gonna keep going and you're gonna be in that same spot. Is what I'm learning. Like,
and then too, I have this whole theory of healing being a luxury and feeling being a luxury. So it's like, do I even have the capacity? Do I have the tools? Do I have the wherewithal? Am I able to do that right now? Right? Like it's hard enough just trying to be a black woman. Like during that time, I'm like, I'm just trying I was in high school. I'm like, I have my practicum. I'm trying to be, I just thought I was going to be the first person in my family to go to college. I'm not trying to break.
Right. Little do I know. I'm breaking
generational curses on drugs. Okay. I don't even know nothing about this life.
Listen.
I'm not even familiar with drugs.
Not at all. Like
why is this even in my purview?
I just came here to play on the computer.
Right.
Here I am.
Like, what the heck?
Like, No.
Like, just be a regular absent father, you know?
Right. But you had to have some issues too. Like, not only were you absent, but now you have issues as well. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Just
But I will say this though, the more that I've learned about my dad, right? Like, he told me, he was like, when I was out here in these streets, I was not having fun. I was depressed. Right.
that's perspective.
Right.
Because as a kid or as a young person, you're like, okay, you just out here living your best life, like having a good time, but that wasn't the case.
Like abandoning your family. Like, what the heck?
To
right?
kick it.
Like, you chose to be there instead of here. But he was like, no, like, I was depressed.
That is great perspective.
Yeah. And so just like how when we get into our pain, we have our own cycles of things that we do.
Yeah.
Right. Some of us drink.
Yeah.
Some of us go meet a guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Sleep it away.
Right. Some of us go shopping.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have our own destructive behaviors that we do, and his was drugs.
Yeah.
Right. Some people cut themselves.
Yeah.
Right. Which that's my sister.
Yeah.
Right.
But it happens.
Yes.
Yeah. Whatever you choose to cope. Yeah. Mine is to meet a guy. That's the
some people go work
coping.
out and run.
Yeah.
Now, if I could get
on
that,
the real, I wish that was
listen,
me.
your girl would be bad out here.
Jeez,
Okay?
listen, we both would. Like, I need that coping because that sounds like the most healthy one. Because I'll be like, nah.
But all of them are like methods of escape, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So he chose drugs. Okay?
Yeah.
The most escapism that he could choose, right?
That is definitely like out of body. Like, I'm really want to be out of here.
Right.
And not feel this. But
it's crazy what you said about, how you be like, oh my God, like this whole money thing, like I don't want to be homeless. Like, I literally randomly be like, don't do drugs. Like, that's what I tell myself. It's so weird.
The trauma is real. Don't you do it.
Like, no matter what happens,
don't do drugs. Dare.
Right. To keep kids off drugs. Not like there's just drugs laying around me or anything, but I literally just randomly will tell myself, like, don't forget.
I'm crying.
Never do drugs.
Don't do drugs.
Not even a little bit. Like, to the point where, like, like you go to the dentist and they like prescribe you something.
No
I'd be
drugs.
like, no, like I'll get the prescription and never feel it.
No Vicodin. No drugs.
Exactly. Like, for real. Like, I will get the prescription and never feel it.
But that's true. Like, people can't,
I'd be like, and I'd rather suffer.
Yeah.
Because I'd be like, I don't understand what made the addiction. Like, I don't understand where that happened.
Where it came from.
Just like how people become alcoholics. Like, there was one drink that tipped you over the hedge, and now all of a sudden you're an alcoholic, and you don't know where the line is.
And that's scary.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you don't know.
So with drugs, I feel like I do have addictive personality sometimes, right? So I'd be like, okay, he said he tried it one time and it was a thing.
And it was a wrap.
Like, I don't want to ever be. And then one of my coworkers, she said that they had like some seminar at one of her kids' schools, some like suburban schools, and they were telling parents to throw out all their medication.
Oh, the what's it called? Like oxy. What is it called?
Opioids.
Yeah.
Right. There's in suburban schools.
Yeah.
Them kids get hooked on opioids.
Yeah.
And it starts in the cabinet.
Yeah, and people be having them Vicodins and all them things from the dentist that they prescribe
exactly.
to you.
And I'm like, so people really be getting addicted to this stuff, right?
Crazy.
Right. I don't got time for it.
Not at all. Listen.
So now it's to the point where, like, even like I don't want to take an allergy pill, but if I get real bad, I'll do like half of it.
Yeah.
And when I tell you, my body can't take it because it's so used to
not taking nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, my body's so pure. It'd be like,
what is this?
What is this? We don't do this.
What are we doing? Yeah, that's definitely me. I'll be like, I don't care. If I don't pay nothing, like, I'm going to pay my rent. And, like, all my bills be paid. But it's like, okay, you don't got no extra. But that's okay. Because I ain't about to be out, down and out. Like, I just can't do that to myself. Like, no. Like, that's just a huge fear of mine. Because I see him. And I'm just like, damn, like. And then he like called me asking me for stuff. And I'm like, bro, you don't even know me. Like, that's out, bro. Like, I don't.
I wonder, have you talked to your siblings to get to, because, okay, the point that you're making is it's difficult for you to get to know your dad now, right? Because he doesn't always have the mental capacity to tell you the why and the how and get you to understand.
Yeah.
And for you to learn who he is now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But do your siblings know?
And it's unfortunate because I don't think they do either, which is the sad part. So at least like the brothers don't, because they don't too much deal with him either.
But did they in the past when he was younger?
No. So
Okay.
not from what they told me, like not the brothers. So maybe some of my sisters, because he actually like lived in the house with them, like he was married to their mom. But I haven't spoken to them in a while. So maybe they'll have a better idea of like who he was when he was on his feet, like at
Yeah.
a different time. But I haven't spoken to them, so that's quite possibly something that I should do just to get a better idea of who he was before.
Right, to give you some perspective, because
Yeah.
right now the version that you're getting is
Yeah.
traumatizing, right? It's like,
Yeah.
what the heck?
Yeah.
And then it's like, how do I avoid this?
Yeah.
Right?
I don't want it at all. It's awful. And it's unfortunate for him because I'm like, I mean, again, my mom too was just like, wow, your dad was great looking, like he used to have money. And I'm like, where's that dude at? Like, what happened to him? Like, you giving my mom money to go back and forth from Chicago to Milwaukee and y'all just living your best life, but this is not the man I see. Like, he's asking me for money. And one thing about me, like, a man is not asking me for money. I don't care who you are.
Let me tell you
Dad,
some
boyfriend,
quick sidebar, right? So new employee. I have a new employee.
Okay.
And I not for the new position.
Okay.
Just the last employee that I hired
Gotcha.
is still relatively new. And his first week, I needed him to fly here. He lives out in Texas. I
Okay,
needed
yeah.
him to fly here to work on a project. So he was going to be here for a week. But because it was his first day, he didn't have, like a corporate credit card or
Aw.
anything, right? And so I was like, oh, okay, well, I can put it on my corporate credit card, whatever. So he called me like, all right, and what's the card number? And I was like,
He asking me for money?
I said, I don't know what type of sugar mama you think I am, but that ain't happening.
This is out. Are you asking me for my card information?
And he was like, your corporate card, right? I was like, oh, yeah, you're right.
I said,
Okay.
my bad. Little
Back
trauma.
to reality.
Listen, because what I thought was
Listen.
you was one of them scrubs asking me for some
I
money.
was like, but I was like, you better hurry up and order that corporate credit card because you're going to be having to do a reimbursement until then. Okay.
Because I was about to be out on you, like, first of all. But yeah, it's just like, yeah, I wish I could have known that guy, the
Yeah.
well-to-do guy who, was on his feet and had it going on. And I don't get that from him. I get, like, how did you have any women? And because he got plenty baby mamas. It's like, how was you pulling these women?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Right? Because, well, he is a version of himself right now.
Yeah.
Right? And when I think about myself, there was a broke version of me.
Girl.
Right? When I was in college, when I would pay all my bills, I would have like $20.
Girl.
I worked 3 jobs. It was a
It's
struggle.
crazy. Yeah.
Okay.
Listen.
So the version of me today isn't that version, but I have a lot of respect for that girl.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
She did the thing.
Listen.
She was thinking long term. She
Yep.
was putting in work. She was willing to grind, and she was willing to do that. She was willing to suffer to go for the long term
Yeah.
gains. And my mom would say the same thing. Your dad was very good with money. He bought everything. He would buy cars with cash. Like he didn't want to have no debt.
Yeah.
He was a top salesman. He had stock in. They gave him stock in that company. And then when I read,
Wow.
I was like, this ain't habitual criminal.
Listen, I can't even get past the habitual. It say it right
it's
here.
I know how to read.
Listen, in print. I seen
Okay.
it. Oh my
Then
gosh.
I looked it up just to make sure that I understood. But it's one of those things where it's like I had to acknowledge. So what I learned from talking to my dad and from talking to my mom once she knew that I knew the truth, all the cover-ups,
Listen,
is that when they were married, that was a version of him.
Yeah.
Right? They were really in church, He was really good with money. He was in the army, whatever. Then drugs happened.
Yeah.
Then he was a habitual criminal.
Yeah.
All the things that I read, that's what he did and that's who he was. Right? And then, when he would come out of jail, he would declare himself to be who he was in the past.
Oh,
But that wasn't true. He would
Yeah.
go back to drugs.
Yeah.
And therefore prison.
Yeah.
Right? And then one day, so after he did a few cycles of that, and by a few, I mean many.
A lot.
Okay, just to be clear,
Okay.
my entire childhood.
Yes.
Then he decided one day to be a better version of himself.
Yeah.
Right. And so it makes me think about how many cycles do I do? Maybe it's not drugs, right?
Yeah. But it's something because we do go
but
through
maybe it is a
cycles.
drug. Maybe it's just not a substance,
Sure.
but maybe it is a drug.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe it's a different habit.
Yeah. That's good. That's good.
That I do that it takes me a while to get out of. But what I love about my dad is that he never gives up.
Yeah.
Like at first I used to be like, how much of a failure are you? Like you literally, how many times are you going to get out of jail and stand up in front of the church and say that you're going to do this, and then literally you go right back. Like I told you at the wedding.
Yeah.
At his wedding.
Yeah.
Everybody was there but him because he was out getting high.
Yeah.
Right? Like what the heck?
Yeah.
Like what the heck? Right? But then I realized one day, and that's the perspective, is that he did fail, but he never stopped trying.
Yeah.
So are you going to look at him as somebody who keeps failing or someone who never stops trying, someone who's relentless? And I am like my dad in that way.
Yeah.
Like I will keep trying. I'm going to fail a different way every time.
Listen, but I ain't going to stop.
But when I
keep
do
trying. Listen.
It's going to be big.
Listen. I'm going to keep trying every time.
So I challenge you to find something that you admire about your dad, past or present.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll probably learn. This is what I suspect because I was there when you met your dad. I think that your dad was probably very funny.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I do see a lot of me in him. Just our personalities are pretty much the same. Like you saw, he had the snacks.
When I saw all them chips, I was like, it all makes sense.
This is her dad. He had all the snacks.
Me and Bestie was college roommates, and when I tell you, she ain't never bought no food, but she always had snacks.
And that is him. And he is like quick with it. Like he is very like when like says whatever. Like I see a lot of me in him, but I'm like, now the bad stuff, I don't want to see that. I don't want it.
Or could you learn from it? Because with me, like now that I'm not diagnosed, right? But I do think I have addictive personality, right? Which is why I try to set boundaries on stuff. And that's why I tell myself randomly, don't do drugs.
Yeah, dare.
For no reason. I just be like,
hilarious.
It could be the middle of the night where, when you turn over in the middle of sleep and I'll be like, don't do drugs. All right, good night.
Listen, had to remind myself.
Those are the conversations that I have with myself.
Oh my God.
Like, don't forget, don't do drugs.
Hilarious. Okay. Dang. That is hilarious. I love it.
Oh, what are we the episode is so far
we are definitely so far.
Quick. What goes in the to-go box?
Oh, Jesus. That
don't do drugs.
Listen, basically don't do drugs and listen. And don't rely on time. Like time is not gonna just do the work for you. You gotta do the work too. So that's mine.
Mine is understand what the work is, right? Because the only way to do it is to understand what it is and try different forms of work. Try to get an understanding. Try to learn about, the why. Try to learn about the how. Try to think about, okay, how can this hurt or this pain make me better if I choose to evolve? What can I take from this that'll make me a better person? What can I take from this that might be linked to my purpose? What can I take from this that could positively impact the community? Maybe I'm supposed to go around and tell people don't do drugs.
Hey,
I don't know.
That's a part of the work. Hey.
Who knows?
Listen, it's a thing.
I hope not, because I don't want to do that.
Listen, revamping Dare. It's going to look different.
Thanks for tuning in to Brunch with Besties. Until next time, heal.